Hey everybody, I'm not sure if I'm live yet. This thing takes so long to do this with Facebook. So I'm just getting on here. Sorry, I'm late. I was with a client and got sidetracked. So here I am. I'm actually trying to go live more like at 11:15 anyway from now on. So if you want to mark your calendars so that you can see me at 11:15 on that. I'm also going to be making some changes here coming soon. So there might be some changes to my live schedule as well. So today I am going to talk about operations at scale, turning ideas into action. Okay, so this is part of, operations is part of my new program called the Advantage, which is strategy, operations, and optimization. Because without operations, and if you only have strategy and you don't have good operations in place, then you're going to have a difficult time implementing. And if you don't have operations, it's very hard to start optimizing, because that's part of your operations is going to be collecting data and analyzing that data, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is how to align your how to get your operations going, right? Because I see it all the time. So here's the big problem I see, especially with my clients. Like sometimes somebody will sign up, they want to do it, and then all of a sudden the work starts happening and they fade out. They quit coming to the meetings, or they have excuses all the time about why they didn't get things done. And oftentimes the reasons why they didn't get it done was not because they were pulled off for other things because of their business, but because they were pulled off for things in their personal life. And so I want to say, first and foremost, that your business is not a hobby. If you really truly want your business to be a business, then you have to make it a priority. And I'm not saying that you have to, be a complete slave to your business and, work yourself to death or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that you've got to really protect that time that you work on your business and not just step away. Just like you would do with personal time, you protect that time, with your kids, with your family, whatever. You need to also protect that time with your business. So way back when I first started, one of the things that I created for my clients was a time blocking system, right? And that time blocking system really had that embedded in it, which was blackout time was for a time when you're not working on your business. Green was go time, when you're going to be fully focused on your business. And then you had yellow time, and that yellow time was for times when you can work on your business, but you may have distractions. So for an example, maybe you're helping your kids with their homework, and so you're sitting at the kitchen table helping them with their homework, but while they're working you can be doing things. So during that yellow time you might be doing things that you can still have distractions, like maybe creating designs in Canva or something like that. Whereas green time, you would have to be fully focused on that thing. So it might be recording videos or, learning something, doing that deep work, writing, all of those things, so that you can really fully focus, right, without distraction. And then I even had a time block that was a red time block. And that time block was sort of reserved off for times when you needed to step it up in your business and push through. It was that time, but otherwise it could be used just for your personal time and stuff like that. So that was kind of the idea of my time blocking system. It was green time, yellow time, red time, and then blackout time. And so that is the first step you want to take when you're trying to build the operations, particularly if you are a solopreneur. The second thing that you want to do when you're trying to get your operations up and running is do time blocking in terms of projects, right? So you have time to work on your projects. And so a project could be something like you just hired a coach, and now that coach is delegating things and getting you to do things. So you need to create a time block when you are going to work on that particular project. And then you need a time block for your day-to-day normal work that you do for your business. And then for any type of troubleshooting, putting out fires, that sort of thing. So you kind of need to block out your time in that way as well. So you make sure that you're making time for all the things, right? And you're not just putting off projects because you have day-to-day work. So that being said, you've got to learn to pace yourself, right? You've got to learn to pace what you're doing. If you're putting too much on your plate for that day-to-day work, like maybe social media and that sort of thing, you might want to consider batching your work where you maybe dedicate maybe 4 hours one day and you just work ahead and batch your work and batch all that social media, get it out there, get it scheduled, and then you free up time so you could do projects and things like that during the week and not have so much of the day-to-day type of work to do, right? And obviously you're still going to have some social media posts you might do on a, right at the moment, right? Impromptu ones or whatever, or if you are just recording, live, like if you're out and about and you're recording live or something like that. But you can absolutely help yourself by batching your work and time blocking so that you make sure that you fit in all the things, because you don't want to neglect projects, right? The projects are the things that are going to help your business move forward. And then the day-to-day work could be things like going to networking events, messaging people on social media. It could be doing, social media posts or whatever, writing blog posts, writing articles, that sort of thing. That might be sort of your day-to-day if that's how you structure your time, or you can batch that. So that's kind of the idea with that. So now that you've got time blocks, you're blocking out your time, and you've got the other more specific time blocks where you're categorizing the time that you're going to spend. And then what you're doing is you're aligning the time that you're going to spend on these particular things with those time blocks. So if you're working on a project and you need full focus time, you want to make sure that you have green time, right, to have that full focus time during your week, and make sure you do that. And then same thing goes with, yellow time. You might have some projects or things that you can do in yellow time that are easy. So you want to, reserve those off for that time. And so you're not wasting that green block time that you have when it's full focus on things that you could do when you're more in a distracted mode, because then you won't get to those things that you need to fully focus on because you used up your time block, right? So it's not all that complicated. It's just when you start looking at your calendar and you start looking at your desk time, because, let me just stop right there, because that's one of the things that I think that a lot of times solopreneurs get overwhelmed by the to-do list, and they just don't really know how to organize, right? So one of the things that, most people who are highly productive do is they have a period of time where they're just sort of planning their week, right? You're planning out your week. You're looking at all the things that you need to get done. You're prioritizing those things. You're determining when you're going to have desk time to work on those things, right? And then you're making sure that the time that you have available is going to match the time that's required to do that thing. So if you're going to be doing recording videos or whatever, you can't have that during a period of time when perhaps your kids are going to be home and they're going to walk through the door any minute, and then they're going to, need you or whatever, right? And so you want to be doing that while they're at school, right? You want to do recording while they're at school so that you have that less distracted time. So that's kind of the idea with that. And it's not overcomplicated, but that is what people do who are, more higher performers. And some people like to do that Sunday evening so that when they wake up Monday morning, it's there, it's ready to go. I personally do that Monday morning myself. And then the other thing that I always teach my people to do is to have a Kanban board for their work. And a Kanban board has 3 columns. It has to do, doing, and done. And those columns really make a difference, because think about a checklist, right? The checklist is really black and white, right? It's either done or it's not. And so you don't know what you've already started. And with a Kanban board, you're doing the to do, doing, and done. And so then you've moved all the things that you're working on into the doing column, and then all the to-dos or anything that you just haven't started yet. And that helps you keep track of everything more easily in a very visual way. And you can do Kanban boards on almost every software out there. So like Asana and, Jira is my personal favorite. And Monday, geez, what are all the other ones? Airtable, you can do one in. You can do it in Trello. You can do a Kanban board. So all of them have it. And ClickUp, that one has Kanban boards too. So you can use that kind of a system for managing your work. You can even use that type of a system if you have a project that you're working on and you have a team, and that team is also working on it, where everybody can have access to that board, and then people claim the particular tasks and move them over into the doing column, and you can see who has those tasks, right? So it's a really great way for you to stay visually organized with your work, and then hold people accountable as well. And then one of the things that I do is every morning I look at my Kanban board, and I first look at all the things that I have in my doing column, and I make sure that all of them are still in progress, and make sure none of them are actually done. And then if they are done, I just move them over to the done column, make my notes or whatever. But in the doing column, then I look at those first, because usually I want to get something off my plate before I pull another thing in, right? And so that's what helps you to do that. So you can really pull, you can pace your work. And then the beauty of doing a Kanban board and doing a weekly plan or a 2-week plan or even a month-long plan is that you don't have due dates, right? You aren't managing a bunch of due dates. Like sometimes people do that. I can see that they'll put it on their calendar, like, okay, on this day, I'm going to do this. And then on this day, I'm going to do this. On this day, I'm going to do this. And yes, I know I talked about the making sure you have the time blocks available and stuff. And so you really need to be mindful of that. But when you start creating due dates for yourself midweek, then that itself becomes a management task, right? Because what if you miss the deadline? Then now you've got that, and it's backed up your whole schedule, and now you're goofed up, right? So the beauty of a Kanban board is, and using Scrum, is that you're the end of the week or the end of that sprint, we call them sprints. It's a 1 to 4 week time block where you're doing the things, right, for that particular sprint. And so the due date is just the end of the sprint. And so when you do it that way, it really makes it nice, because you can mix and match your tasks based on how you're feeling, the quality of the time that you have, what's going on. If your brain is spicy that day and you're struggling, then you can, maybe put something off for the next day, or you can work on smaller tasks or something to help you get your brain back engaged, right? And so that's one of the things I do as well, is if I have things that only take 10, 15 minutes, I actually mark them as a 15-minute task so that I can identify them easily on my board. And that way, if I happen to have 15 minutes or half an hour, I can pull a couple of those really quick things that I need to do and get them done, just knock them out, right? Or if I'm having a spicy brain that day, then I can maybe do some of those shorter tasks that are easier for my brain to engage. And then usually by the time I'm done with that, I'm much more focused, and it's easier for me to get going on the deeper stuff that I'm doing. Another thing that you can do is have a set time that you do your deep work, right? So my particular time is the morning. I get up really early, somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. And I don't have an alarm. I just go to bed early, and, it's no miracle or anything. I just go to bed early, and then I wake up because I'm ready and I'm excited about my day and I want to get going, right? So I get up early, and then I have that time before I start seeing clients at 7. Between 7 and 8, I start seeing clients and having meetings and that sort of thing. But I have that time to do my really deep work, so that I can be the working on my business part of my business during that deep work, right? Instead of working in the business. So I'm really looking at the high level, making sure that everything's aligning with my goals. And then I'm also doing some of that in work, right? The in work of, creating my content and, all the things, planning my lives, planning all the stuff, and and then managing it all. So that's kind of the idea with you personally when you're working personally. Now, here's another thing that you can do. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever, raise your hand or put it in the put it in the comments, have you ever wasted time searching for files on your computer? Now, don't lie. Come on now, don't lie. I know it's happened, right? And so one of the things that you can do to help with that is create a standard operating procedure or a policy, right? A policy and procedure. And that policy and procedure will help you start following the rules that you are making for your business, right? So a lot of times we make decisions about our business, but we don't put it on paper. We don't make it a policy. We don't make it a procedure. And so then that decision that we made just starts getting lost, right? That when you get overwhelmed, you start slacking, you don't file things away, you don't do the things, and then you're wasting time on the other end because you didn't bother to, put that file in the right folder. Now you're wasting time on the other end hunting for that stupid file. Or my favorite thing that I always do to myself is I don't rename my file to something that I can remember or something that I can at least keyword search for. And so it'll have like a gobbledygook number or something that the computer just gave it, right? And then I'm really messed up. I get so mad at myself when I do that because then I spend so much time looking for that thing. And so that's one of the things that you want to be on the lookout for is anything that you're doing that's causing you to be inefficient. You can start actually looking at how can you solve that problem. Write out something like a workflow, like a repeatable process, right? Create a template, make a cheat sheet, create a little desk manual, anything that you can do to start solidifying the decisions that you make for your business and how you're going to run things. And then you can, create a policy around that. So why do we want to create a policy? Because when you're ready to outsource, you have some bite behind it to make sure that you have some way to enforce that, right? If they don't do the thing, then there's consequences, right? If they don't follow the procedure. And so that just helps you be really clear about what you expect from your people, and rather than having it vague and, real loose, like, oh yeah, we're just a little business, we're just a startup, we're cool, everything's cool. Well, it's up to you to create structure. And when you start getting a team, they're going to be really frustrated if you don't have structure in place. And it's going to create, problems and, performance problems, and you're just, none of you will be happy. Trust me, I know this. Been through it, been there, done that. Another thing that you can do along with standard operating procedures is start categorizing those standard operating procedures by who would be performing that thing, right? What role are they in when they're performing that? We call it roles and responsibilities, right? So you might have one role and they're responsible for these things, and here's the standard operating procedures for that. Now, here's the beauty of doing something like that. If you start creating roles and responsibilities for every single thing you do, like start categorizing it, what role, what hat am I wearing when I am doing this thing, right? If you started creating roles and responsibilities when it is time to hire, you will know exactly who to hire. Instead of hiring somebody like that's supposed to be the jack of all trades, you'll be able to actually have a fine-tuned job description so that the people know exactly what you're trying to hire, right? And when you do that, then the expectations are there, and you can have standard operating procedures already written out for them. Or as you train them, you have them create the standard operating procedures. And these days you can create SOPs super easy using ChatGPT. You just kind of write out a bullet list of what you do step by step or whatever, and then just say, write a standard operating procedure, and it'll do it all formatted in a perfect SOP. So you don't need a template for that. You can just have ChatGPT do it. And so that's the other thing, is leveraging ChatGPT to help you write these things, right? You could even have ChatGPT tell you what roles and responsibilities you need to have in a business that's such as yours, right? Such as your type of business. And it probably will give you some great suggestions on how to do that. So back to my story on if you hired somebody and you didn't have those SOPs written, you can start training them and then have them write all those SOPs. You can also have them be responsible for maintaining those SOPs, which means that on an annual basis, they would go to those SOPs and review them and test them again to see if they are still accurate, and then make improvements or necessary changes to them, or retire them if they are no longer valid, right? And then you can just simply approve those things. So that is the structure, right, that you are trying to do in operations. And really what you're doing is you're creating workflows, right? Workflows, repeatable processes, templates, cheat sheets, all that stuff that's going to help make people more efficient. And you're creating those things so that they don't have to keep reinventing the wheel every time they do something. Same thing with you. If you're feeling like everything you're doing is haphazard and wild and you can't get a handle on it, you might want to spend a little bit of time writing down the things that you do all the time on a regular basis, and then create a standard operating procedure for it. I can't tell you how much that will help you in terms of just keeping you more calm, right? When you go to do something like, onboard a client, for example, and you're like, oh gosh, I don't remember exactly how to do that. And you didn't write it down, and now you're just doing it from memory. Write a standard operating procedure that has the step-by-step process of what you need to do at each step for the onboarding process. And then you'll have a smooth onboarding thing that, practice that will not only be easier for you, but will help your client have a better experience, right? And it's okay if you're kind of refining it and you have a little bumps along the way. That's perfectly okay. It's going to happen. Don't panic. It doesn't have to be perfect, but having something in place and then having continuous improvement in place is going to help you, right? That's continuous improvement is your optimization phase of the SOO advantage, right? Strategy, operations, and optimization. That's the whole idea. So one of the things that you need to do first and foremost is get your operations in order, because I guarantee that if you cannot manage the work of your business, you will not succeed, right? And there are so many businesses that don't succeed. I don't want you to be one of them because you can't manage the work, right? And by managing the work, that also means showing up consistently, showing up, not walking away from your business just because something happened. That doesn't mean you can't take a day off now and then, but you want to plan those things around your obligations, right? So like if you sign up for a coaching program and then you don't show up to the meetings, I understand sometimes it can take a little while to rearrange your schedule to meet their schedule and stuff like that. So those are some of the things that you want to be asking if you are signing up with a client, is when are the meetings? Or if you're signing up with a coach, is when are the meetings? And then look at your schedule and make sure you can start going to those meetings, all the time, right? So you can clear your schedule. And so if it's possible, you may even want to delay your starting date so that you can get your schedule realigned to their date. Remember, you have to accommodate them, especially if it's in a group program. You've got to accommodate their schedule and when they're meeting with all the clients. So that being said, that's one of the things that you want to do. Like in my program, the SOO Advantage, the very first phase of that is a 10K challenge, where we are working on getting your market dominating position in place, getting your offers aligned, and making sure that you have things like a downsell, things like an additional offers to be able to keep clients, right? So you get a client, you keep that client. That's kind of the idea, so that you're not just like running them through a mill of, that you're actually truly supporting your people. And so we're getting all that lined up, and we're getting that bold promise, really put out there about your offer. And so now you've got those things, and you're going to go out and start, testing those things and making sure that they work. And you're doing it by doing some manual things like networking and DMing people and doing social media and email campaigns, right? And, most of my clients that do that work, all of my clients that do the work actually get clients, right? But if you don't do the work, then you're not going to get clients. And it is very rapid paced. It's like a 30-day thing, because we don't want to be forever testing that MDP and that stuff. We don't want to be forever having to do everything manually. We want to start getting a sales process in place so that when you are on social media, you can guide them to your sales process instead of you having to be there to hand walk everybody through the process, right? You follow me? And so that's kind of the idea with how I phased that. So the 10K challenge is really just to prove your offer converts, prove that your MDP is effective and your bold promise is effective, and that your offers are aligning with what your clients need. And then you're proving it by going for it and really trying your best to get to that 10K goal. And then once you have, turned a profit on that, now you know that you've proven it. And so then we go to the next step where we start putting that sales process in place and getting things, like your website aligned with your market dominating position, with your offers, getting it so that it performs and that it actually attracts and collects leads for you, and not just the leads that are ready to buy, but those who are in the market but are not ready to buy as well, and who are your ideal clients. And so we get all that in place along with, the full gamut of support, drip campaigns, all of that stuff, the whole process in place, including if you choose to do it, live events and all the other things that you need to do or you want to do to, and content creation, all that stuff, right? So we really start getting that engine going. So the very first phase is helping you to start getting a rhythm, and then you just keep adding more things and more things. And then the final phase is really the huge optimization phase, where we're going to go through every aspect of your business and start refining every little thing, tweaking it, and making sure that it is performing at least at industry standard. That is the average, right? So if you're okay with average, that's okay, being average. But if you really want to be above average, there's definitely room to make improvements, and it's all about the data that you collect. So that is another part of operations, is that you have to have a data collection period too, and not just go through blindly, because then you're always just throwing spaghetti at the wall, because you're not even looking at your data to see what worked and what didn't. So you can repeat the stuff that worked and stop doing the things that don't work, right? So that is the idea behind your operations and how you can actually prepare your business for getting ready to scale, and how my program is so how you can really get to that scaling point, right? Like maybe you've proven your offer converts. Maybe you're making $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, maybe even $50,000. And you're like, dang, man, I know that there's more potential to this. I know I could do better. Well, that's what my program's about. That's why I have the 10K challenge. So you can get to that 10K and you know exactly how to make $10,000 in a month, right? Then you know how to do it. And then you just, if you fall a little short, you make 8,000, that's okay. It's still a success, right? But now you have a little bit of wiggle room of like, okay, well, I didn't make it to 10K. So what could I have done better to get to 10K? How could I refine my offer? How can I refine my messaging? How can I refine my sales process to do that, right? That's the idea of why I do that 10K challenge, so that you can prove to yourself that you can make 10K months. And so you can prove that your offer converts, and you can catapult yourself into that, okay, I can make 6 figures this year, right? And you have that belief now because you put in the work, you did it, you did the things, and you were successful. Now you know you can get clients when you need clients, right? So that's kind of why we do that. And that's one of the reasons why I do the get a client, keep a client. So you're not always in hustle mode. You have clients, you have revenue streams that are bringing in revenue, even if you lose one client. But then if you lose a client, you just go get a client, right? You're not like scrambling to try to get 10 clients, 20 clients every single, every single day, like you're not in that constant state of feast and famine, right? Like suddenly you have 20 clients and then 3 months go down and 20 of them leave, and now you're like, oh shoot, now I got to go. And instead you're in this rhythm, and that's what your operations is about. You're in this rhythm where you're doing the things to bring people in, bring clients in, and then your systems are doing their job, so that it makes it a lot easier for you, and more streamlined for you. So you're not spending hours wasting time doing things that automations could be doing, for one, and wasting time doing things like looking for files and scrambling around. Right? Okay. So that is the idea behind operations, and getting those ideas that you have and strategizing, right? That's the strategy part. Getting those and then creating an implementation plan is where operations comes in. And that's where you want to start looking at anything that's repeatable, anything that is inefficient, how you can make it more efficient, anything that you're having to start from scratch over and over because you aren't getting it written down. Write that baby down. Write it down. Tell ChatGPT all about it, and have it write a standard operating procedure for you. And I'm telling you, standard operating procedures, if it comes time where if you do scale your business and you do get it out there where it's like really making money, and now you're like, well, I'm not going to just wind my business down and stop taking clients. I'm going to sell this thing, right? It's an asset, and it can create generational wealth for me if I sell it, or I pass it to my kids, or whatever it is that you want to do, right? It's now an asset, right, that you have as part of your portfolio, is you have a profitable business. And so by getting standard operating procedures in place, your business is more primed to sell, because that is one of the things. I talked to a guy who does, I talked to a few actually who does that, right? They are business brokers and they help people sell their businesses. And that's one of the things that they said is an absolute must, is standard operating procedures, because the buyer needs to know how to do all the things, right? The buyer needs to know how to do all the things. You can't just leave them blind. Then you don't really have anything, right? So that's the idea, right? Is that you're putting these things in place as you go, and then you're annually reviewing those standard operating procedures. And that's what you can have your team doing, right? Is always maintaining. Each person is responsible for those areas, and they're responsible for that standard operating procedure, and they're responsible to generate a certain amount of revenue, right? Stacy Tuschel always says every single employee needs to be generating at least 2 times their salary. So if that's the case, then you need a way to track to see if they are. So you need certain key performance indicators that they are responsible for, and they need to be performing at a specific level so that they're ensuring that they are helping you generate 2 times their salary, so that you can continue to pay them and you can continue to run your business. Okay. All right. I hope that helps. That was kind of a long talk. Geez, I didn't realize I talked so long. But yeah, that's really what you want to do with your operation side of the house, and really start looking at and paying attention to how you're doing things, so that you can stay organized. Well, get organized, stay consistent. Okay. All right. I hope that helps you, and let me know if you have any questions. And also, if you want to download any of my things. Oh, I'm also in some giveaways this month. I'm in the authority positioning with Stephanie Treasure right now. The Wealthy Coaches giveaway just ended, and I'm in the Let's Get Visible thing too. I'm a panelist on that giveaway. And so you can, if you're on my email list, be sure to watch your email, because those announcements are coming out. And if you are not on my email list, watch on social media, or please DM me if you want those links to get involved in those events, because there's a ton of resources, a ton of good resources that you're getting from people on, how to do things. And, you can speaking of operations, you can really look at some of the things that people are offering in this and see if they're offering anything that's about actually operating that part of your business, right? And man, you can get a wealth of information on how to do the operation side of the house in these summits and giveaways. So be on the lookout for those, and then just put in the comments if you want any of that information, or DM me. You know how to find me. All right. Okay. I hope that helps, and I will see you in the comments.